Hello everyone, it's Matt here, and today we are going to be doing a classic album review of The Queen is Dead by the Smiths. So here I have the album with me on vinyl. Found out quite recently that the Smiths are actually remastering it and re-releasing it and everything. And I only got this a couple of months ago, so that's the pain. That's the inside of the vinyl and everything. We got that lovely, iconic Smith shot on one side, and all of Morrissey's lovely lyrics on the other. And that's the back. So, Queen is Dead. Why is it a classic album? For many reasons, I answer. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I've already filmed this video about 3 times and it's all gone wrong every single time, so hopefully this time it will go right. Firstly, from a personal level, I can relate to this album a hell of a lot. It's an album specifically catered towards, in my opinion, teenagers and things like that, and young adults who are just finding themselves and finding how they feel about life. And it is, in many ways, a coming-of-age album. And I can relate to the feelings that Morrissey was going through a lot. At least I think I can. I mean, I don't know. The way he conveys them, I feel like I can relate to them a lot. Secondly, the music is fantastic, and actually, in my opinion, this is the best Smiths album. Definitely the best studio release. I mean, it's between this and Hatful of Hollow, but Hatful of Hollow is a compilation, so that doesn't count. And this is the best Smiths album because all 4 members of the Smiths were on peak form on this album. Morrissey's lyrics on this album are absolutely phenomenal. Some of his best work ever is on this album. And also his melodies, the vocal melodies that he and Johnny Marr were coming up with were absolutely beautiful. Johnny Marr's guitar on this album is absolutely fantastic as well, and the melodies he was writing, the arrangements that he was putting together at the time, some of his best work again. And also the rhythm section, Andy Rourke and Mike Joyce were on point. Say what you will, of course, about all the court cases and everything, but from a musical point of view, those two were brilliant. Mike Joyce was solid, and of course Andy Rourke is probably one of the most underrated bass players ever. I personally love him. And it sees all 4 of these members gel better than they had done before, in my opinion. Everything comes together really nicely, and in my opinion it's a culmination of the Smiths' best efforts. So musically, on peak form here. Just the right amount of inventiveness, but it's not too far off piece and everything to be completely different. And from a contextual point of view, it makes sense as well. And the timing in which it was released, of course, perhaps aided its impact as an album. It really sums up on songs like the title track, The Queen is Dead, about Morrissey's political view. They were growing up in Manchester, and in the 80s there are a lot of parts of that, of course, that were very, I mean, that still are today, that were very poor and everything. And under Thatcher, you know, the rich got richer, the poor got poorer and everything like that. So, I mean, I wasn't around in the 80s, so I didn't see it firsthand, but from what I've read about it, and I'm a bit of a nerd, I read about all that kind of stuff, you know, the sort of impression I get from this album is that, you know, they were kind of unhappy, but at the same time, they were craving something tangible here. And then that's what makes this album so perfect. And also, quite recently, NME, who are a major musical magazine, they rated this album as the best album of all time, which was interesting to hear. So, yes, let's talk a little bit about the Smiths. Before this album, they released 2 other studio albums, their eponymous debut, The Smiths, and 1984's Meat is Murder. And that went down very well. Everyone went, "Ooh, yes, meat is murder," and inspired a whole new generation of vegans and vegetarians, which of course isn't a bad thing, and I'm sure the animals thank Morrissey very much for that. Morrissey, of course, being a very profound vegetarian, and he's not into anyone eating meat. He even said in an interview he can't be friends with people who eat meat. So yeah, and of course, as well as this, they'd had a stream of really successful singles, and they were really mainly a singles band up until this point. Well, arguably throughout their career. But they had songs like This Charming Man, How Soon Is Now, Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now. Those kind of songs that went down really well with the public. Everyone was going crazy about them. Morrissey going around in his open shirts and his beads and everything, his big necklaces, swinging around gladioli, and everything was nice and flowery and very 80s-ish. Yeah. And they released The Queen is Dead in 1986. Originally it was intended a year earlier, but they got in a load of legal problems with their record company. There's actually a song on the album, it's called Frankly Mr. Shankly, which is a very funny song, and I'll talk about that in a minute. That is about their head of the record label, and it's quite funny to listen to. You know, Morrissey was not a fan of him, quite clearly. So yeah, that's the context behind it. Effectively, it came out and people were, "Wow, this is a great album." They had 2 singles of the album: "Big Mouth Strikes Again" and "The Boy with the Thorn in His Side," which are 2 of the standout tracks for me on this album. The other 3 standout tracks, I would say, the first track, the title track, "The Queen Is Dead," "I Know It's Over," and "There Is a Light That Never Goes Out." So those are the main tracks I'm going to be talking about today. Before I go on about how amazing those tracks are and how much of a fan of them I am, let's talk about there are a couple of filler tracks on this album that I'm not so much of a fan, and that for me is why it's not the best album ever. It's still a fantastic album because of the message it conveys, which we'll go on about. But for me, there are about 3 tracks that really sort of aren't quite on par. "Never Had No One Ever," which is the 4th track on the album, really doesn't go anywhere for me personally. "Vicar in a Tutu," as funny as it is to listen to, is a bit stupid, to be honest. Even the bad songs, Morrissey comes up with some cracking lyrics for them, and they're funny to listen to. It's like "Frankly Mr. Shankly," which is the other one I wasn't so much of a fan of because it's just a bit of a stupid song, really. It's still funny to listen to. And honestly, after "The Queen Is Dead," there's a very serious, driving, almost kind of punky kind of song, nothing like the Smiths had ever released before. Out comes "Frankly Mr. Shankly" with the Zumba beats and everything like that, and Morrissey singing about how he dislikes this head of his label, calling him a flatulent pain in the ass, quote unquote. That's nice of him, isn't it? Those tracks sort of aren't quite up to par, in my opinion, so, yeah. But still, they're entertaining to listen to. One of the key points of why I love this album so much is that at times it is very funny. Morrissey, as serious he would have liked us to believe, he is a very funny man. So yeah, but let's talk about the ones that I did like some more, and the ones that sort of went down in history for their massive cultural impact. We'll start with the title track, "Queen Is Dead." The lyrics on this track are fantastic. Morrissey going on about how he broke into Buckingham Palace and met the Queen, and she went, "Oh, you can't sing." And he goes, "Oh, wait till you hear me play piano." And they have a nice little chat, and at the end he goes on, "Oh, yeah, everything's rubbish. The pub wrecks your money, the church steals your money, the Queen is dead," And it sort of feels a bit depressing, but at the same time, it's a banger of a track. It starts off with this little sample, if you want to call it a sample. The Smiths weren't really a sampling band, but from this 1962 film, can't remember what it was called, of some people singing like they would have done in World War II. And I'm thinking, what on earth is going on here? This isn't the Smiths. I put on the wrong record. But then all of a sudden, there's a big sort of a very high pitched noise, and then this tom roll comes in, courtesy, of course, of Mike Joyce, which has been treated in the studio and everything. And all of a sudden, everything bursts into life. The guitar comes in, Morrissey's high-pitched voice, sort of whirring around everywhere, and then it gets really exciting when he starts singing and the bass line comes in. And it's a perfect opener to this album, really. Best Smiths opener by a mile, definitely. And personally, one of my favourite Smiths tracks, just because the lyrics are just so, again, very funny, very good, entertaining to listen to. I Know It's Over, which is the third song of the album, which in my opinion should have been a single, but it never was. It has some of the best lyrics on this album. If you're so clever, then why you're on your own tonight? If you're so very entertaining, then why you're on your own tonight? It's so easy to laugh, it's so easy to hate. It takes strength to be gentle and kind. It's very true, Morrissey. Very true. Much agreed. Yes. But it's a very, very sad song. Probably the saddest song the Smiths ever wrote, actually, at least of which I know. About never really having a relationship and never properly falling in love and never being loved. It's very sad, very overdramatic, but very sad. The line about him feeling the soil falling over his head, almost like he's being buried alive. And for me personally, when I hear the song, I just visualise Morrissey being sat in a church watching the girl or the boy, I mean, no one really knew about his sexuality, his lover getting married or whatever, and him just watching it, looking on, feeling very sad. Big Mouth Strikes Again was the first single of the album, and for me is a real great track on this album. The danciest track by far, which is ironic considering the lyrics are again very sort of not depressing, but sort of they're quite negative. It's all about Morrissey going on about how I shouldn't have said this, my big mouth, all this, I was only joking when I said this and that and all the others. And then he has this line about Joan of Arc, and now he knows how she feels, even though apparently she had a Walkman and she was burned at the stake. So I think he needs to check his historical facts. That's a reference to one of the songs. It's got a really nice solo in between of it, but my main reason I like this song again is the rhythm section in this. It's really fast paced. The drums are really well kept in the song. The bass sort of burbling in and out and everything like that, going up and down the neck, whilst the guitar sort of floats on top of everything. You've got this really nice fast paced acoustic guitar chords, whilst Johnny plays sort of electric stuff over the top of that, and it works really nicely. After that we get The Boy with a Thorn in His Side, which is one of their more famous songs, and there's a very cool video of them playing it on Top of the Pops on YouTube, so check that out. Morrissey sort of dancing around very over dramatically, it's quite funny. And this song is all about, I think Morrissey wrote it about himself, but a lot of people thought he wrote it about Oscar Wilde, who's one of Morrissey's idols, and he of course references in the song Cemetery Gates, where he has a complete nerd out about literature and everything, about Oscar Wilde and Keats and Yeats and all this and all that, and plagiarism, and it's, you know, it's funny to listen to. But anyway, it's a very poignant track, again the instrumentation, but really this is Morrissey's best vocal performance on this album. At the end of the track he's yodeling, but it actually works, it's weird. So we have that, and then the final track I really want to talk about is There Is a Light That Never Goes Out, which for me is the ultimate Smith song. Well, either that or How Soon Is Now. But there we go, that's a song for another day. There Is a Light That Never Goes Out is just, the lyrics in this song are just so relatable, and this is what I'm talking about. For me, the album has a bit of a narrative. It's not a concept album or anything like that, but it really describes the feelings of someone who's growing up and someone who's learning to fall in love and to be themselves and finding out who they are. And in this song, I really get a sense of someone who wants to see things, you know, he wants to see people, he wants to see life, all this he's talking about, you know, being young and not actually wanting to go home because he wants to see the world for himself. At least that's my impression of it. And of course it has the line about the double-decker bus crashing into us. To die by your side is such a heavenly way to die, which is very overdramatic and really quite funny when you look at it on paper, but for some reason it really works in this song. The way the strings come in and everything, and it feels very sort of, I suppose the word for it is cathartic, it's very over the top, but it works. I love it. And again, instrumentally it's a fantastic piece of music. The strings really add a lot to the piece in my opinion, and the way it sort of fades out at the end with that sort of orchestral little bit, I'm not quite sure what instrument it is, something woodwindy I think. And that ends the song really nicely, but from a personal point of view I can relate to the song a lot, you know, and I think many other people can too, and that's why it's a fan favourite. And then it fades out very nicely on Some Girls Are Bigger Than Others, which is bit of a stupid song again, but the music in the song really saves it. The lyrics are stupid, it's just Morrissey just going, some girls are bigger than others, whatever that's supposed to mean. Yeah, you can interpret that for yourself. But yeah, it's really nice, the way it ends actually, on this sort of, the sort of, you've got this ride coming in on the drums at the end, and it sort of fades out into the distance, and it's a very nice way to end the album. So anyway, personally for me, it's a classic just because I can relate to it so much. So maybe this is more of a personal one. But then, having said that, NME still put it as its best album of all time. So, you know, it really represents the Smiths, the peak of their form, and is an essential album for any person who wants to get into indie, alternative rock, that sort of thing. And that's why I'd highly recommend it. So go pick this up. Or actually, no, just wait till the reissue comes out if you haven't got it already, because, you know, you might as well. And it's a cracking album. You'll get hours of fun listening to Morrissey's stupid lyrics at times, and very, very entertaining and very well written lyrics at others, you know. He's one of the best lyricists ever. No doubt about that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm uploading more at the moment, both classic albums and stuff like that. I've got one about Björk, one about the Pixies, that kind of stuff. I'm trying to do more different styles. There's a video about Kendrick Lamar coming up next, so you know, if you're into your hip hop, stick around for that. Yeah, if you did enjoy, give it a like, and subscribe. There's a little red box, I'm sure you know where it is. I mean, I'm sure you guys have been using YouTube for long enough now to know where that one is. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.